Hey everyone, Carlos Vargas here, and I'm with Pat Lynch from Rockland Trust. Pat's a mortgage originator at Rockland Trust. We're just going to have a conversation with her, ask her about her business, ask her about her bank, and hopefully if you're looking to purchase a home or refinance your home, you'll reach out to Pat because she does a wonderful job. Hey Pat.
Thank you, Carlos, for coming
Thank
today.
you for your time today.
You're very welcome.
Appreciate it. Hey, could you tell us a little bit about yourself?
Sure. As you said, I'm Pat Lynch. I've been in the mortgage business for almost 28 years now. Started out a long time ago and have seen all the changes through the mortgage industry. So I've seen just about everything. Took people from their first homes to their final homes, back down to the empty nesters, because in 28 years you can do all that, and even did second homes for some people. And it's been fun. I've actually recently done loans, of course 28 years.
Sure.
I'm doing loans for the children of some of the first people I did mortgages for. So
Oh, that's great.
yeah, so we have a lot of fun too.
How do you stay in touch with them? Do you just it's the phone call once a year? It's a card. How do you? Because I know you're a pretty successful originator. So
There's a combination of a lot of things. Technology has helped, and remember, technology really came into play in the late 1990s into now. But prior to that, it was all done by telephone and snail mail.
Right,
We did
right.
everything. I did mailings almost once a month. Of course, the client base was smaller, and as the client base builds, technology took over.
sure.
So we have some very sophisticated databases that send out mailings at trigger points, people's birthdays, anniversaries, and things
Right.
like that. Lots of phone calls. I still do a lot of personal phone calls, and some people are lucky enough where they tell me where they work, and I end up showing up in person just to say hello, see what's going on with them. So there's a lot of different ways we stay in touch, and not one way is the best way. It's
Sure.
a combination of all of them.
It's the old
is
shotgun
wonderful.
approach, right? Just stay in
Yeah.
front of your
Yeah,
current and past clients.
yeah.
What interested you to get into the origination business? What was your?
It's funny how I got into it. I had graduated from college. I had a degree in psychology. I started working in that field, and the first thing I wanted to do was buy a house.
Oh,
And what I wanted to buy was a two-family house so that somebody else would pay my mortgage for me, and that's what I thought it was going to be. And as I started looking around at homes and mortgages, I realized I knew nothing. So I began researching the business of buying a house and mortgages, and funny, it led me to a job. And that's
Oh,
where
that's
I
great.
started. And I started in a processing area, which was great, helped a lot of people there, but really liked the interaction with people, the more of getting people from beginning to end, and that's how I ended up as an
Right.
originator.
and this is all pre first-time home buyer class programs and that type of stuff. So
Yeah,
you
this
needed
was
to
a
really
long
get
time
out there.
ago.
And really pre-internet, right? So you needed
Oh,
to
yeah.
go down to the library and get some news and magazines and stuff.
Yeah,
right?
there was no internet to
There was
research
nothing
on.
out there.
I actually called a lot of people that were in the industry
Wow.
and said, hey, tell me about buying a house.
Right.
And people love to share their knowledge, so it wasn't difficult to get people to share knowledge and to do those things with me,
Great.
and that's how I ended up
Great.
here, and never regretted a second of it. It's
Super.
been people always say, what would you do if you could do something different? And I say, nothing.
Nothing. That's
No.
great. Yeah. And it shows. It shows because every time we come across each other, you're just a breath of fresh air. So
Thank you.
You're
Thank
great.
you.
What areas of the business do you focus on? Is it refi? Or is it people looking to buy the first home, or is there any one business of the mortgage business that you focus on, or just everything?
No, it's the mortgage business that I focus on, which includes everything from first-time home buyers to downsizers to people buying their vacation homes or even an investment property. The idea is to help people achieve what they want.
Right.
So I do a lot of first-time home buyer counseling classes. I teach those classes through a nonprofit, and I work with a lot of people to take them from renting or living in their parents' home
Yeah.
to their first home, and sometimes that's a 1-year process. Sometimes it's just a dream the day that I meet them, and a year later, 13, 14 months later, it becomes a reality. If for other people, they call me up and say, look, our house is almost paid off, would like to buy a second home. How do we do that? How do we
Right.
keep a cash flow? A lot of times it's just about cash flow for people buying, other than their first home, their vacation home or an investment property. So we focus on everything. It's a mortgage business, and sometimes people call me to buy an investment property, and it turns out all we do is a refinance on their primary residence. So sometimes when they think they're buying, they're refinancing with me, and they're
Right.
buying with cash.
Right. Right.
So-
Is there any advice that you could give us if somebody is looking to purchase their first home to kind of de-stress the whole process? You know, is there anything that they should do before do A, before B, before C?
Yes.
Is there?
Yes. First of all, I will acknowledge the process is a stressful process. It is cumbersome, and it is minute details. So just be prepared for that. You can't walk into a bank and say, I'm looking for $250,000,
Mm-hmm.
and I'm gonna put down 5%,
Mm-hmm.
and you're just gonna lend me the money because my mother sent me with a note that said I'm a very nice person. What we're gonna do is we're gonna first, before you do anything, you're gonna talk to me as a loan officer and say, what do I need to do? Because what's right for one person may not be right for another person. Paper trails of everything. Don't move money around. One of the things we have people doing is they start consolidating all their money. They're taking money from here and putting it there, and they're getting gift money, and they're calling their old college buddy and saying, hey, you still owe me that $1,000. I want it back. Talk to us first, because there's ways we want you to have that money put back into your account. We don't want you moving money around because we need a 60-day history on everything. Jobs are important. You can change jobs. If you have a salaried job and you move to a better position, that's fine. But if you have a salaried job and you go to a commission job, we're going to want to structure that a whole lot differently than something else. And if you're self-employed, regardless of what you do, you need 2 years of tax returns for that self-employment. So there's a lot of things we can just tell you about, and you can then learn from that.
Sure.
And move forward with a home purchase with less stress than you would if you just went out, made an offer on the house, came to the bank and said, now I need that mortgage.
So see the professional, go on
First.
their advice, and then the process will become a lot easier, right?
Yeah.
Some folks jump into it and then they try to figure it out, and that's not a good way to do it.
It's not a
right?
good way at all. You can
Right.
land into a lot of trouble that
Right,
way.
right. Can you share with us any successes that you've had? Some folks who maybe had never thought, especially after the crisis that we've had the last bunch of years, that they'd never be able to purchase a home, or anybody that you've been able to help?
Yeah, we've been able to help a lot of people. We have, at Rockland Trust, we have access to a lot of programs, including the Mass Housing Program, which actually allows for people not to be first-time home buyers. They can actually have owned a home previously, they just can't simultaneously own it. And that has helped a lot of people, because people who sold their houses or had a partner or a spouse that sold a house that was maybe a short sale or underwater, and now have very little money to put down, and the other partner still has good credit, we can actually put them into one of these programs, and we've done that for people. So
Oh, that's
I'll just
great.
give you a quick story. There was a gentleman, he married his girlfriend. She had never owned a home before. He owned a home. Prior to even meeting her, he let it go to foreclosure. So we got a long waiting period from foreclosure. But because we can separate them on an application, just because you're married, you don't have to go together on an application, she was able to actually go into a first-time home buyer program, put down 3% because they didn't have a lot of money, and buy a home, and he was able to live in there with her, and it worked out perfectly.
Oh, that's great.
Yeah, so there's a lot of solutions we have for people,
Right.
and
Right.
and we'll use whatever solutions we have.
Yeah, so just don't assume that you can't fit into a home or a condo. Seek somebody out who will
Yeah.
walk you through the whole process. Is there something that you've learned over the years that you wish you had known back when you first purchased your first house?
By the time I purchased my first house, I'd been in the business for several years,
Okay.
so I maybe knew more than I should have known.
Oh, good.
What I wish I had known, though, is where the peaks and valleys were gonna be in the market, because I would have bought a lot lower and sold a
Yeah,
lot
right,
higher.
Right.
So we can't predict those
Right.
things,
The
and
crystal ball wasn't working.
no, it wasn't working. But if it is your primary residence, you need to view it a little bit differently than if you're buying investment property, and we talk to people about that.
Sure, sure.
You know, it's like anything, if it's not for an investment, it's for your own enjoyment and use, we're gonna look at it very differently than purchasing
Absolutely.
a property. And people always ask me, well, is there a good time or a bad time?
Yeah,
And I always say, it's when it's the right time for you.
it's the right time. Exactly.
It's not good or bad, it's the right time for you.
Right, right, and it's funny, that's kind of, it's been my philosophy on my home, because my home was where I raised my family. It's, in an investment, we treated a heck of a lot different, because you're trying to get the best rate and the most amount of rents and stuff, so That's so true. What's a favorite part of your day?
Mornings.
Mornings.
I
You're
love
a
my
morning
mornings.
person?
I love my mornings. My morning is where I set up my entire day. I learn people's schedules, so I know the people who are up and about at 6:30 in the morning. And as long as I have their permission, I will call them at 6:30 in the morning.
Wow.
That is my favorite part of the day. It gives me all my energy for the day.
Yeah.
And that's where I schedule my whole day, where I'm going out and meeting with people. And that'll go on all day. And then a lot of times in the evenings, I'm teaching a class somewhere.
Great.
And so,
Do you mind sharing with us which home buying program you teach classes at?
yes, I teach my programs through NeighborWorks of Southern Massachusetts.
Okay.
They offer programs about twice a month, and I am usually the banker there teaching them, although I do understand that there's other people they like. I don't get it, but
Sure.
there's other people they like, and they have them teach sometimes. But I do teach those classes. You can call me directly, and we can get you hooked up with them. You do have to register with the nonprofit. Again, it's NeighborWorks of
Okay.
Southern Massachusetts, and they do offer the best. And I'll give a little plug for them. They also have down payment assistance funds
Oh,
for various towns if you qualify for it. So they are one of the better agencies that I think to use.
great. And we'll have the information on the resources that Pat is mentioning in the show notes. So just kind of go to our site, and you'll be able to find out the NeighborWorks
And will you
so
allow me
forth,
one
yeah.
more commercial?
Absolutely. Commercial.
One more commercial.
This is your time, my
I'm
friend.
doing a commercial. We at Rockland Trust also offer the Mass Housing Partnership Program, which is one of the best programs in Massachusetts for home purchase with
Yeah.
small down payments, no mortgage insurance, and below market interest rates. You need to
Great.
qualify for those programs, but they are available, and they're available through Rockland Trust, who's a
Rockland
big supporter of that program.
And that's through the Mass Housing?
Mass Housing Partnership.
Great. And that'll also be in the show notes as well. Is there any advice that you could give somebody who's perhaps listening or watching the video if they're looking to refinance their home? I know that we all look at the interest rate and say, oh yeah, I'm going to save 0.5% or a point. What should they also be looking at if they're considering refinance, or to consider whether refinance is the thing for them to do?
They should look at their own cash flow.
Okay.
They should be telling me what they want to spend monthly
Okay.
on their mortgage, and I should be the one helping them achieve that with my product knowledge of products. So one of the things we always talk to people about is, for right now, let's talk about cash flow.
Okay.
And those are the important things we need to talk about, because you have to make this mortgage payment every month, theoretically for 180 months or 360 months.
Sure.
So it is a cash flow.
Okay.
People sometimes get bogged down in, I don't want to do this for 30 years. It's still the same amount of money. If you're borrowing $200,000 for 15 years or for 30 years, if I walk up to you, you say I owe $200,000.
Mhm.
I don't ask you how many years you owe it for. You can pay that however you want. But
Okay.
we talk a lot about cash flow,
Okay.
because those are the important things to people on day-to-day living. It's all about cash flow. If you can live with a 15-year mortgage and it's not going to inhibit you from going on vacation or buying a car or paying for child's education, then go with a 15-year. But if you're going to be scrambling 10 years from now to figure out how you're going to pay for those things, let's do a 30-year mortgage, pay it as if it's a 15 for 10 years.
She'll pay an extra
And then
payment every year or so.
yeah, and then in the end, when you need extra cash flow. So that's really, we do a lot of
Mm.
analysis of personal information.
Okay.
There's no blanket statement I can make of which loan is better, because it really depends on everybody's individual situation.
And as we wrap up, if somebody is considering purchasing a home, what should they be doing in the next 30, 60, 90 days, 1 year? Should they come and see you first and see kind of where they fall in the process, and then you can advise them, or is there anything that you can blanket?
Yeah, they should talk to a mortgage professional, even if it's a year in advance. One of the key things I tell people is keep your credit clean.
Okay.
You know, people talk to me, how do I bring up my credit scores? Pay your bills on time.
Mm.
That really is the key to credit. Watch how much you're using for credit, and I will warn people, don't just close out accounts. It can be a very dangerous thing. Talk to your loan officer first and go through credit first. And I've had a lot of training in credit, so we could tell you what things bring up your scores and bring down your scores. But
Right.
people try to maneuver their credit in ways that don't make a lot of sense. You've got to pay your bills on time and start saving money.
Right.
If you're
Right.
living at home rent-free with your parents,
Yeah.
show the bank that you can save $1,000 a month or $1,200 a month that you'll be devoting to the mortgage payment.
So
You know.
devise a plan where you
Yeah.
can
You can
She would
demonstrate
do
to the bank that
mortgage
you've been
payment.
already doing this.
That's great. That's great. Any final words of wisdom? Anybody
No,
who's
thank you.
listening? Anybody who's listening or watching
No.
the video?
The only words of wisdom I can say is just call me here at Rockland Trust, because I do have the information that you need.
And what are you reading right now on a personal note?
Let's
What's
see.
on your reading the nightstand there?
What I have right now is a book called, and I'm not gonna get the name of it right, it is called Their Time.
Okay.
It's a story about the rescues off of Chatham Beach back in the 1940s and 50s.
Okay. Okay. Maybe we'll also throw that in the show notes as well. Right? Yeah.
I'll have to get that title
Yeah.
correct, because I took the cover jacket off of it not too
Yeah.
long ago.
Yeah. Because I mangled my
Yeah.
covers as well.
Yeah.
Well, I
Thank you very
I
much.
really want to thank you. You're a great partner, and hopefully you've enjoyed our conversation with Pat. All of her contact information will be in the show notes. And if you enjoyed these videos, we're hoping that you can share them with your friends and family. If you go to the firsttimehomebuyertools.com website, you could leave me a voice message there. You can send me an email. I'm hoping that you'll add to the conversation that we're trying to get going with some of our business partners and the folks who really do an amazing job for a lot of people out there. Thank you, and thank you for watching.
Thank you.
Thanks.